Well, we're out in the sun yet again, and we're up in a little place near Rugby called Town Thorns, which is actually a retirement home for people involved in the motor industry. And today, or this weekend, they've thrown their grounds open to celebrate 75 years of Jaguar. And of course, in 75 years of production of motor cars, Jaguar have not only produced a fair amount of road cars, they've also been very much involved in competition cars as well. So we'll be looking at some of those and some of the successes they've had, including Le Mans wins in the last couple of years, and quite a few rally cars as well. Well, David, obviously you spent a lot of time and money on this car. When did you first get your hands on it?
We bought the car in '85 as a 10-year-old car, which was just an average XJ, but I particularly wanted a 5.3 coupe. And then we started to restore in '86, and it took us till '94 to restore it.
So obviously that complete restoration, obviously from the ground up.
Exactly, yes. But then, of course, it hadn't been built to concourse standard, and I went and put it in a show. And the judges said, oh yes, it's a nice car, but this, that and the other. So since '94, it's been a continual spiral upwards to improve, and it's continuing now.
Because you've won quite a lot of awards here. Can you just run us through some of the major ones you've won?
The major one, of course, would be the Jaguar Drivers Club Champion of Champions last year, which means it's the best concourse car in the Jaguar Drivers Club. It comes up against the best of each of the Jaguar Drivers Club registers, the E-Type register, the XK register, at the national final at the NEC in November.
Right, so obviously you must, every time you take it out of the garage, you must pray that nobody sort of bumps into you on the way to shows, or don't you drive it to shows?
Yes, it drives everywhere except to things like finals where you're allowed to trail, normally because of the time of year, really. Rain is the big enemy. You worry more about rain than other people. I love the XJ. I had an XJ in the 70s, and I loved the car as a saloon anyway. But the coupe, of course, is pillarless, so you can open it out, and it's the next best thing to a drop head.
So obviously you're going to keep this on for a few more years yet then?
I'll never sell this.
Well, you couldn't possibly do a feature on 75 years of Jaguar without featuring one of these little beauties. This is a Jaguar EType, if you hadn't all recognised it already. And one of the organisers of the show is Bob Beecham, and he's with me, and this is his car, and he's had it for a number of years now, 28 years, would you believe, and it's actually done about 115,000 miles. Well, Bob, for 115,000 miles of motoring, this car looks pretty good.
Well, I suppose I've done a lot of work on it over the years. I mean, in its early days it was used as daily transport and it went downhill rather rapidly, but I got married then and probably had a bit of time to work on it then, and I built it back up again, and basically over the last couple of years I've bare metaled it again. It's total nut and bolt rebuild and got started again. So although a lot of it's original, I've also rebuilt things as well.
Because I was just credit to you as an owner, because I must admit, looking at it underneath, it looks absolutely immaculate.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of work, a lot of spit and polish there, and you just have to keep on top of it, really. I have helped things a bit by having a lot of stainless steel. So, yes, you can help things along a little bit.
I must admit, we do quite a lot of features on older type cars and veteran and classic cars, and the sad story that comes out of most of them is that you get a lot of problems with certain types of car, and apparently, obviously with a car like this, if you imagine engine problems, things like that happening, it's a very major job, isn't it? Have you done actually a lot of work on the engine yourself?
Well, yes, I'm very fortunate. I've got good working conditions at home. I've especially built a workshop for my vehicles, and a lot of these things, it's the sheer weight. Once you've got the engine out and on a bench, I think a chap who's fairly competent can get by on most things on these cars. But it's the weight of the actual items, that's what scuppers most people.
Well, this car certainly wouldn't win any concourse competitions at the moment, because obviously it needs a bit of tender love and care. And this gentleman with me is Keith Vincent from the Jaguar Enthusiast Club. Well, Keith, obviously not all Jaguars start off life like this, but obviously needs a lot of work.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to go into this. It's going to take a long time, it's going to take a lot of money, but depending on the skill level of the individuals doing it, it is the sort of thing that can be restored at home. A lot of our members do undertake those sort of restorations, but it's a bold project.
Because it looks to me it's like the original found in the back of a chicken shed in the farmer's field somewhere.
Yeah, very much, and although the bodywork doesn't look as though that's going to be too bad to do, I don't know what interior parts there are that are missing, and the trim and the chrome and those sort of parts can be very expensive.
I'm amazed to see there's still some headlining left in there, isn't there?
Yes, but not enough to keep it going, I don't think.
Yeah, so obviously, what advice have you got out there to people who might be thinking of buying a Jaguar in not maybe in such a bad a state as this one, but certainly in the state of needing repair and restoration? What sort of advice could you give them?
It depends on their own skill levels. If they feel competent to do all the body work and the mechanical work and the trim work and have got the relevant skills or some good contacts to do it, then that's fine. If they haven't got that, then go and talk to a specialist. Join one of the clubs and talk to somebody in your local area who knows what they're doing and who can say that's gone too far or these parts aren't available, because not everything's available for these and you have to remanufacture parts, and that's not easy.
Well, this gentleman is Tony OKeefe, who's responsible for the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust. And what exactly do you have to do for that, Tony?
Well, I have to polish a lot of cars, I look after them, I maintain them. We have a restoration plan for the future, and also to acquire cars we haven't got for the collection.
So how many vehicles are you actually responsible for currently?
Currently it's 108 vehicles, and that's Jaguars from the very earliest Swallow sidecar, Daimlers from the very earliest Coventry built production Daimler, which is 1897, and also Lanchesters, which form part of the Daimler group. And then when Jaguar bought Daimler, we purchased Daimler and Lanchester as well.
Well, obviously in this marquee you must have a very small representation of what you actually got back in the actual museum. So what's the most expensive car you got here today then?
Our most expensive today is the XJ13, and really it hasn't got a value. In the late 80s we were offered £7 million for it, and we turned it down. Who's to say what it's worth today? We will never sell it, it just hasn't got a price. They only built one car.
So obviously tonight when you lock the marquee up, are you going to be sleeping in it?
Not me myself, but we do have someone sleeping in here.
Okay, so what's the second most valuable car you got here then?
Historically, I'd say the 1897 Daimler. This is the earliest production built car built in Coventry by the Daimler company, and they started in 1896. There's no 1896 car surviving, so we're very pleased to have the earliest surviving car left.
So obviously you said you've got responsibilities about looking after the future as well. What other cars are you trying to buy in for the future then?
We're looking at gaps we have in the collection, and we're going out to auctions, concourse clubs to buy the cars we do have. We're also in a very good position to get the cars that the public aren't going to see for a couple of years. So we're building up the collection with cars that will come out in 1999, the new 200s. We've already got one of those in the collection. So we're ongoing, it's an ongoing process.
Well, 75 years of Jaguar life in competitions is reflected here in one of the other marquees at the show, and certainly the number of cars we've got here reflect quite a lot of competition history and success as far as Jaguar are concerned. And the gentleman responsible for getting all these together was Dennis Ashmore, who's the events coordinator for the Jaguar Car Club. Well, Dennis, must have been an absolute nightmare to get all these vehicles here at once.
Yes, it did take a bit of putting together. It did mean that I was able to speak to and meet with quite a lot of interesting people, and the owners of these cars are very helpful in bringing their cars along. I mean, they bring them without any charge, with the event particularly being for charity, so they bring them along without any charge, and I think they like to see them in this kind of event. But yes, we are very grateful to a lot of people for allowing us to show these cars here today.
Well, obviously we've got some cars going back to the 1930s and 1920s, but I think the most unique car here is the one we're standing in front of, the XJR 15, which is sort of like a stillborn road car that was supposed to be a car for a particular one-make race championship, and this one in particular has got a very interesting history, has it not?
It has, yes. I mean, every car here is unique in its way, but this is the XJR 15, of which only about 50 were made. Back in 1991, the Jaguar Sport company, which was part TWR and part Jaguar, built this as a very limited production. About 35 of them were racers, and people might remember that there was a small one model series of races which accompanied the Grand Prix at Monaco, at Silverstone and at Spa. And they were driven by well-known racing drivers for their private owners, who had paid $1 million each for this very special car. It is actually based on the XJR8 and the XJR9 and the XJR12, which won the 24-hour races at Daytona and at Le Mans in 1988 and in 1990. And underneath the shell, it is very much like the XJR9 that we've got here, which was the actual winner in 1988. And it's made a very special road car, I think, out of it.
Well, one of the main supporters of today is, of course, the British Motor Heritage organisation, and the managing director is Brian Cameron, who's here with me now. Well, Brian, why are you supporting today's 75th birthday celebration for Jaguar?
Well, for some years now we've been involved with Jaguar in terms of looking after their specialist in the older parts, and we're just about to move into some XJ series parts, and this seemed like a great opportunity to come along to a bit of a garden party and spread the word of British Motor Heritage, the British Motor Heritage specialists, and the new parts we have available.
But obviously today is very much about getting the general public involved in the charity known as Ben as well, isn't it?
Well, Ben's a great charity to be involved with. It looks after the interests of people who have worked or associated with the motor trade, and here at Town Thorns they've just set up a beautiful garden party, very, very reminiscent of Goodwood and sort of the Festival of Speed, very relaxed and beautiful weather.
Well, this is absolutely the end of the day, and as you can see, yet another E-Type Jaguar, but a very famous one indeed. It's been raced by Bruce McLaren and David Hobbs way back in the 1960s, and it's still capable of doing a couple of hundred miles an hour right now. So I'm going to take this one home, I think. It's just a gorgeous piece of machinery, and really I can't think of a better way to end the day.